the Miss Budweiser with driver Jim Kropfeld. Judging by all standards, this is the fastest race boat in the world. And when you put the fastest race boat in the world on the fastest race course in the world, incredible things can happen. And they have. The Unlimiteds are next. Columbia Crest Winery presents the 1987 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Today from Tri-Cities, Washington, the Budweiser Columbia Cup. Brought to you by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Household Finance Corporation, America's #1 financial services company. And by U-Haul International. Rent it all at U-Haul Centers. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tri-Cities, Washington. I'm here with Jim Kropfeld, the driver of the Miss Budweiser, which set a world record during qualifying this week at better than 155 miles per hour. And Jim, this boat has gained quite a reputation as picking up most of that speed in the turns rather than the straightaways.
Well, we talked about it last year, and this is what we really wanted. We wanted a boat that would turn quick, accelerate quick, and not go too fast on top end. Anything over 165 to me is getting a little more dangerous than I like to do. So we try to keep the top end down but go quick in the turns.
This course, as we said at the beginning of the show, has the reputation as being the fastest course in the world. Chip Hanauer went 153 here 2 years ago, and now Jim goes 155. Any special butterflies or feelings or concerns when you come onto this course?
Well, you know, the Budweiser hasn't won here in 9 years, and I've never won here, so I guess I get a little anxiety. Pains going here, but it's a fast course, and the faster we have to go, the more unsafe it becomes, and the more alert the driver has to be, the more cognizant of all the water effects and air effects and the other boats around him. And it's a hard course to drive, even though it's a good smooth course.
Okay. Well, the man who won 2 weeks ago back in Detroit is with Jim Hendrick right now. Let's get some words from him. Jim?
Okay, Don, the man who did win in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, how hard would it be to repeat with this field?
Well, it was hard in Detroit, and it's going to be hard here, Jim, but the Pringles is improving, as you know, every week. We've run some 25 laps here, all over 130 mile an hour, and I feel real confident that a couple breaks go our way, and I do a skookum job of driving the Mr. Pringles. We might get another win.
Speaking of skookum jobs, you really held off to Miller. I noticed you went outside, you went inside, you were just playing games out there in Detroit.
Well, you know, Chip's won a lot of races. He has a lot of experience, and he's an excellent driver, but I feel that I can run with him, and I just wanted to show him what the back end of a boat looks like. It's probably been a couple years since he's seen that, so we plan on giving him a little more.
Okay, Scotty, thank you very much. We're about set to go for action now here for the Heat 1A. The schedule, here's Don.
Jim, this is by far the biggest field we've had in 1987. We have a total of 11 boats. Here's a look at Heat 1A. First of all, out of Seattle, just over the mountains, Jerry Hopp in the Miss Jackpot Food Mart. Secondly, Pepsi America's Choice and Mitch Evans from Lake Chelan, Washington. Jack Berry making his debut as an unlimited driver in the Miss Rock KISW. Ron Snyder coming out from Ohio, racing the Polson Miss Madison, qualifying at just under 120. George Woods, likewise a new driver, coming up to the Unlimiteds, driving the Oh Boy Alberto. And finally, the man who set a world record, Jim Kropfeld, and the Miss Budweiser. So that means we've got 5 boats in Heat 1B. And Jim, you got the lineup?
Well, checking the starting board for 1B, it's true, Don. There are 5 boats in this coming heat of 1B. 2 of the boats are the turbines. Jack Schaefer will drive the U-17 Tempest. Milner Irvin coming back to action for the first time this year, driving Frank Kenny Toyota Mazda Volvo. Todd Yarlett and Pietro's Pizza, his sponsor for this event. Scott Pierce and Mr. Pringles, the winner of the Detroit race. And rounding out the field, Chip Hanauer in the Miller American. And that's the way they line up for Heat 1B. And Don, I agree with you. This is the fastest race course in the world. Just look at the speeds. I'm anxious to see this one. Let's go to work.
And this Columbia River course is ready for Heat 1A for the Budweiser Columbia Cup 1987. Welcome back to Tri-Cities. We are only moments away from Heat 1A, and one of the drivers in that heat is Ron Snyder of the Holset Miss Madison. Ron, you're coming up with a new breathing apparatus for this race. I know you've had trouble in the past sitting behind that Allison engine, so now clear air.
Well, you know, you haven't had your ride yet, so you don't really know what it's like back there. But, yeah, Doug Ford come up with this thing, and so far it's worked great. All I'm doing is filtering the air that I'm breathing back there through some charcoal filters. You know, there's no air bottles or no oxygen or nothing else with it, and it's been working great. So, you know, if you have to come back in before noon, then I got an appetite now. I can go over and eat lunch for the rest of you.
So in the past, though, you were kidding earlier saying, well, my bullheadedness finally caved through to the mask.
Well, you know, in the years past, we were so tough, us guys sitting back there in the back seat, we never thought of this stuff. Well, now I got seat belts, and now I decided, well, you can change me on seat belts, because I was totally against them. Now I'll wear a mask. Okay. And it's been great.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Jim Kropfeld on his way down for Heat 1A, driver of the Budweiser, looking for his first victory ever. And Ron Snyder in uniform. Out goes Jack Berry, making his debut in the Unlimiteds. Likewise for the Oboy Oberto. Jim Harvey, crew chief, owner. How's it feel? You finally made it.
We waited a long time for this first heat, so we're all pretty excited.
I would imagine back in mid-June when the truck went on fire, you never thought you'd be here.
Never thought we'd be this far, and especially this year, but we're back and we're here to stay.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good luck today. June 10, 1987. Jim Harvey was driving the Oboy Oberto rig down to Miami for the first race of the year. But in Alabama, suddenly a blowout, a spark, and the fire that totally destroyed the truck, taking all of Jim Harvey's belongings and personal records with it. Somehow they were able to bounce back and make their debut here in Tri-Cities in 1987. Now for Heat 1A, the drivers. Jerry Hopp out of Seattle, driving the Miss Jackpot Food Mart. Mitch Evans, not far from home, Lake Chelan, about 2 hours away from here. Jack Berry is making his debut in the Unlimiteds, drove the 2 1/4s in the past. Ron Snyder likes to race here in Tri-Cities, the Columbia Cup, southeastern corner of Washington State. George Woods, 5 and 6 liter racer, also K-Boats, now moving up to the Unlimiteds. And the defending national champion, Jim Kropfeld, looking for his first win here in Tri-Cities. The rundown, a full field of 6 boats. That's all this course has room for. That is usually the max on any course for that matter. 11 total for the day. Heat 1A, a good rundown. Only one turbine, that being the Budweiser, which is of course a good break for Jim Kropfeld and the Budweiser crew. Here we go now as all 6 boats are running and they come down the main straightaway for the first time. Ron Snyder, the Holset Miss Madison, George Woods, the Oboy Oberto on the inside. You hear the gun. On the way outside is the Miss Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld. Ron Snyder with another excellent start in lane number 2 in the Holset Miss Madison into these very, very wide turns. Budweiser getting a little out of shape as he goes into the first turn. Look at the Holset Miss Madison. On the inside, George Woods holding his own, the rookie driving the Oboy Oberto down the back chute. The turbine-powered Budweiser, the Allison. Look at Snyder accelerate past the Budweiser going down the back straightaway. On the inside is George Woods, the Oboy Oberto, a Merlin engine, something that is becoming quite a rarity in unlimited hydroplane driving. He has dropped back just a bit into 3rd place. But the race right now between 2 Ohio natives, Jim Kropfeld on the outside of the Budweiser. Look how wide he's going as Ron Snyder holds on to lane 2. Coming down to complete lap number 1. Jerry Hopp in the Jackpot Food Mart, the U7 in 4th place. Ron Snyder's speed on lap number 1, 124.5 miles per hour. That is almost 6 miles per hour faster than his qualifying time. The Budweiser coming around the outside, the Holset crew. Carol Lee on the right out of Seattle for this Madison, Indiana-based crew. The Budweiser now very slowly gaining more speed. Looks like he's taking the lead. That's the 3rd place boat, George Woods out of Seattle, and Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati in this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous Miss Budweiser that has been nearly flawless throughout the 1987 season. Jim Kropfeld beginning to stretch it out now against the competition. And I can see why. Speed for the Budweiser, lap number 2, 130 miles per hour. For the Holset Miss Madison, 121, and for the Oberto, 118. One of the biggest advantages on this course is the wide turns, and that really favors Ron Snyder in the Holson Miss Madison. This is Jack Barry in the Miss Rock KISW as the Budweiser goes down the back chute. Beginning to string out just a little bit now as the Budweiser is in control, and Ron Snyder driving the boat that has won more races than any other boat in existence, the Holson Miss Madison. 22 victories for that hull. Jerry Hopp having problems down in the west turn. As the Budweiser comes into exactly the same turn, we'll have to get around Jerry to complete lap number 3. The Miss Budweiser, a winner in Florida, a winner in Evansville, a winner in Madison. In our last race, it was the Mr. Pringles winning because Jim had jumped the gun in the final heat on the Detroit River. Ron Snyder. And George Woods, who has driven 5-liter, 6-liter K-boats, had a couple of world records in the 5 and 6 liters, so he knows what hydroplanes are all about. It's not a case of coming in totally cold after driving a flat-bottom K-boat into the Unlimiteds with a 3-point system, the 2 sponsons and the rudder and prop, of course. Some of the Budweiser crew, Miss Budweiser, watching the other Miss Budweiser down the back chute. And this boat, as I said earlier, 22 victories, the only boat to win more, Bill Muncie's Blue Blaster that came up with 24 victories. This boat, who knows how many wins the Budweiser crew will pick up with that beautiful hull. Nowadays, a boat doesn't live quite as long, though, maybe 3-4 years, and it's time where technology says you got to step up. Well, this Budweiser in control of Heat 1A. Jim Kropfeld, 400 points for the Miss Budweiser. First place. Second to Ron Snyder, who drove a great race here in 1A, 300 points. And third place to George Woods and the Oh Boy Alberto. So for the record book, the Miss Budweiser and Jim Kropfeld off to a good start. Holson Miss Madison, likewise, the Oh Boy Alberto. And the rookie, George Woods, great start for them. The Miss Rock and KISW, Pepsi America's Choice, Jackpot Food Mart. Let's go down to the pits.
Talking to Brady Little, he did a kind of a little jump off the dock when he came in that first turn. What was going on?
Well, I don't know. We were going in pretty fast, about 180, 185, and Madison and I pretty close, and George is right behind us in the Alberto, so we had to stay on it pretty hard, just about flat out in the turn. It was just a little lumpy from just us guys being out there.
All right, it's not qualifying water.
Right, not without a doubt.
Jim, I'm with Ron Snyder, who had a great start in Heat 1A, and it looks like Ron. Oh, hey, that mask is working well for you.
Oh, this sucker is really working, folks.
Is that why you had such a great start?
That's a great start, wasn't it? I couldn't understand how I did that. You taught me everything I know. You know that.
Well, we've always felt you've had a nose for racing.
You got it now, right?
And just a few miles away from the race course, the desert of southeastern Washington. We'll return to the Budweiser Columbia Cup after this. Welcome back. We're getting ready for Heat 1B. Chip, how do you feel?
Time to go to work again.
Time to earn a living, huh?
Okay. Yeah, there's got to be an easier way to do this, though.
Both of us have got to figure out something, huh?
When you let me know, we'll do it together.
Okay, good luck. Chip will be joined by Jack Schaefer Jr. driving the Tempest, built by Chuck Hickling out of Seattle, and Todd Yarling in Pietro's Pizza, the U-22, new sponsor this year. Of course, this boat, the Mr. Pringles, on a bit of a roll after winning in Detroit. Scott Pierce, the driver, out of Seattle. Beautiful paint scheme, very different.
Take it real easy the first lap, first time out. Anyway, other than that, you're ready to go. Just don't forget the ADI. All right, so you want to go what, 6?
That's Dave Cully on the left, crew chief of the Frank Kenny Toyota, and Milner Irvin, his driver.
About 40 seconds.
The drivers coming up in Heat 1B. As I said, Jack Schaefer out of Los Angeles, and Milner Irvin making his return to the Unlimiteds. Haven't seen him yet in 1987. Todd Yarling, he has run the entire circuit. Pietro's Pizza, their sponsor for their swing to the west. Scotty Pierce and the Mr. Pringles. And Chip Hanauer looking for his first victory here in this particular circuit. The drivers, again, 5 boats in Heat 1B, a total of 11 for the day. Qualifying speed for the Miller American, overwhelming, certainly. But still, second to the Budweiser, which set a world record. So here come the 5 boats down the main straightaway now for the start of Heat 1B. You can hear the engines accelerate, and here we go. The gun sounds. Pietro's Pizza right on the button on the inside. The Miller American with Chip Hanauer. Todd Yarling on the outside out of Hanover, Indiana. Second place to the Miller American. Good positioning by the Miller. New air scoop on the back as you see going into the first turn. But Yarling in the Pietro's Pizza on the outside, holding on to second place. Mr. Pringles is back a ways, but moving up now on the inside and battling Todd Yarling for second place. Scotty Pierce on the inside, Todd Yarling on the outside. Pierce getting the nod right now as they go down the back chute. Fourth place, Milner Irvin and the Kenny Toyota. The Miller American going into the second turn now. Great acceleration on the part of the Miller American. Chip Hanauer working the Miller hard here in Heat 1B. First time out in Tri-Cities in 1987. Second place now belongs to the Mr. Pringles with Scotty Pierce out of Seattle. Checking the speed on the Miller American here in the first lap, 138.9 miles per hour. A good 8 miles per hour faster than the Budweiser had to work on its first lap in Heat 1A. Some of the crew for the Kenny Toyota, their first race of the season. This is a fantastic boat. It's the old Budweiser, but it's powered by a Griffin engine, a turbocharged Griffin engine, and we'll take a closer look at it during our high performance corner. The Mr. Pringles getting a little light going into that first turn. Got real light during testing earlier this week, and we will take a look at that later on today. But the Mr. Pringles performing better and better all the time. As Scotty Pierce said, running at about 130 or better on 25 test laps prior to the race today. Miller American in first place here in Heat 1B. Second place, Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce. Two turbines in this heat, the Budweiser alone in Heat 1A, going against the piston engines of the rest of the field. And then this is the Griffin piston engine with 3 turbos in the back. A fascinating idea. Some feel this might be another way to go in the future of hydroplane racing. Plenty of horsepower from 3,000 to 4,000 horse. Stacked behind Milner Irvin as he goes down the straightaway. But this, of course, the Lycoming L7 engine with about 2,650 horsepower. Third place belongs to Milner Irvin. First place to the Miller American. And Chip is simply running away from the field right now. He is comfortably in first place. Second place and 300 points would go to Scott Pierce, who won in Detroit. Attrition having something to do with it. Also, Jim Kropfeld jumping the gun at the start of the final. But Scott drove a great race, holding off Chip Hanauer and the Miller American in Detroit, especially in the last 2 laps, to finally get the victory. And it looks to me like the Miller American is slowing down. It is! The Miller American is slowing down after a comfortable lead. Todd Yarling going by, Mr. Pringles going by. And it looks like Chip will get a DNF. Did not finish in Heat 1A, and now it is a struggle to get into the final heat. You've got to get points in these heats, these preliminaries, to have any shot at getting into the final. He will have a big goose egg after 1B, and here will be your winner, Scott Pierce in the Mr. Pringles. 400 points to the Pringles camp. Second place to the Kenny Toyota Volvo Mazda and Milner Irvin, 300. And Todd Yarling and the Pietro's Pizza will pick up a third place, as you see, 400, 300, and 225. Let's go down to Scott Pierce.
Scotty, you never know what's going to happen. When did you know the Miller was down?
I saw him go down in the corner. I didn't let him get that far ahead, but I just wanted to be conservative and get our boat into the final and not have a problem. So
In other words, you were going to settle for second place.
Yeah, it was my intention. As you know, Jim, we aren't in the points race, but that doesn't mean we can't win the boat races, and we're going to try to do that again.
Okay. Don?
It has been a long time since you and I have been able to talk. Welcome back.
Thank you, Don.
I know you're trying to run conservatively, but it paid off. Now you're with a second place and 300 points.
Well, we just wanted to go out and see what it was going to do in competition. We didn't really want to push it that first heat. We kind of lucked out, I guess, with Chip stopping.
Okay, well, congratulations. Long day ahead yet.
Thank you, Don.
And I think everybody at the Kenny camp is quite happy. They have the official fun meter, which we saw a couple of years ago. It is back, and we got to move up to 9.5 by Jerry Kenny. This is the Continental High Performance Corner. A closer look at the fastest race boats in the world. Welcome back to Tri-Cities. Between heats, we have a chance now to look a little more closely at one aspect of racing. A lot of people feel this new power plant behind us on the Kenny Toyota Volvo Mazda might be the future of hydroplane racing. A turbocharged Griffin, right?
Well, always seem to be involved with something new and different. I guess U95 days with the first turbine and now the first turbocharged Griffin. It's kind of fun and exciting.
Basically now, for everybody at home, what are you doing? We know the Griffin, the horsepower that it has. Now you're turbocharging with 3 turbos, in fact.
Right, Don. We've got added 3 turbos to the back of the boat. We've isolated that with a carburetor behind, basically to more or less keep it as its own system. Instead of attaching the turbos directly to the motors and having each turbocharger attached to the engine and going in and out with an engine change, these all stay in the boat. There is a carburetor, and we're inducing fuel through the turbochargers.
The tall tales, maybe it's true, I don't know, but they have often said a Griffin has up to 3,000 horsepower. You combine that with turbos, which is supposed to create even more horsepower. Is that in fact the basic theory?
We really believe that capabilities of the Griffin motor are upwards in the 4,000 horsepower range, and with this size hull, we of course need that. And we're in hopes to slowly dial this program in.
What about cost? Is this now comparable to a turbine program?
Gee, I don't think any of the owners want to sit down and pencil how much it costs exactly. The development of anything costs a little bit more, as everybody knows in the racing game. We have really cut some corners with this program. Of course, we did run turbocharged Allisons, so for us to do this has been a lot simpler cost-wise than it would be maybe somebody starting out for the first time. The turbines are proving out to be, of course, the boat that goes the fastest. I mean, they're tremendous. The horsepower to weight ratio, it's really tough to beat.
But with something like this, the piston engine is still alive by all means.
Right, Don. If anybody's going to have a chance against the turbines, at least to be competitive in a day-to-day racing format with a piston motor, it's going to possibly be with this motor, hopefully with this program in this boat.
Leif Borgeson, he ought to know. And between heats, let's check around the pits now. Sponsored damage, right side to the Pepsi America's Choice. Mitch Evans' boat. You can see the sheet metal ripped away. They've got time, though, to repair it. Hopefully, Mitch helping out as well. You can see him in his racing suit over at the Pietro's Pizza. Looks like an engine change may be needed after their problems in their earlier heat. Let's get a word from Todd Yarling, the driver. Todd, what's the situation?
We'll just change motor for the next heat. It ended up being a pretty decent third place, but we could have had a second. The motor I think we just stuck a valve in it. You know, that happens a lot.
Plenty of time to change an engine.
Oh, yeah, we should have.
Down at the Miller camp, trying to straighten one of their shafts. That's something you don't see all that often, but Scott Hanauer there on the left, Chip's brother, helping out. More prop problems?
No, well, yeah, I wasn't sure at the time. I got a vibration, shut it down, so I don't know.
So it's still a question mark as to what it is.
Yeah, at this point, I think we know part of what the damage is, but we don't know how much damage there is, so we're going to have to do a little damage control here.
But it's not engine, it's more running parts?
Well, I don't know. The vibration can come from about 10,000 different sources. It's a matter of running it down.
And a popular place to visit for tourists here in the state of Washington, McNary Dam. One of several dams that have, well, you might say, tamed the Columbia River for hydroelectric power throughout the western half of the United States. Back in just a moment. We're back in Tri-Cities. John Walters, were you able to find out what the problem was in time?
Yeah, we had a bunch of problems, so not enough time, but somewhere along the upper end of the course up there, Chip must have run over something, and I don't know exactly what it was, but it took the tips off of both sides of the propeller and caused an awful lot of vibration. The vibration rattled a bunch of things loose in the back end, one of which was the main water line coming off the rudder, which feeds the propeller shaft bearings and all that sort of thing.
Is the shaft straight now, the one he's got out there?
Yeah, well, it's as straight as us and the crane could make it. Yeah, we ended up having a little bit of a bent shaft and ended up trying to twist the thing up a little bit in order to straighten it, but that's part of racing, I guess, yeah.
Indeed, it is part of racing, but the Miller American is heading out with Chip Hanauer aboard. There's George Woods again out of Seattle in his second ride of the day in that Unlimited, the Oboy Alberta, owned by Jim Harvey. Todd Yarling in the Pietro's Pizza. We've got a boat camera right up behind him to the left that we'll get some pictures from, we hope, in this heat. And the Frank Kenny Toyota with those about 4,000 horsepower to be exact. The Budweiser with 400 points. As you see, the Miller American on the bottom of the heat needs points desperately to get into the final heat. So let's keep an eye on the Miller American as you see Todd Yarling coming down in the Pietro's Pizza. Here comes Chip as he looks for the Miss Budweiser. He is simply stalking Jim Kropfeld right now, trying to get on the inside of the Bud as he heads across the infield. There's the Budweiser. It looks like it's in trouble right now. Jim Kropfeld at the head of the back straightaway. The engine is going. He's got to get it up on a plane at the 1-minute gun. He does not do so. He is disqualified for this heat. You have to be on a plane at the 1-minute gun. So now the Budweiser is disqualified with only 400 points for the day.
Lauren, did he copy me? He's illegal. He's illegal.
Here come the boats in the meantime around the west turn coming down for the start of E2A. The Budweiser's out there on the inside. There's the Miller American. As you see the Bud on the inside, here comes Todd Yarling. And let's go aboard with Todd in the Pietro's Pizza. Take a look at what it's like to go down the main straightaway. And there it is as you go aboard the boat along with Todd and the Budweiser in first place. But keep in mind, the Bud has been disqualified. Evidently, he has not seen the black flag, or the team has not been able, as you see Don Jones, the commissioner of the Unlimited Racing Commission, telling Bernie Little that officially the Budweiser has been DQ'd in this heat. They will try to get a black flag to him. There's the leader, the Miller American, and Chip Hanauer in first place. Behind, of course, the Budweiser, physically at least. And this is the battle for Todd Yarling as he goes down the back chute. The Budweiser, yes, physically in first place, but he has been disqualified, not maintaining a plane, being up on a plane, and engine running at the 1-minute gun. The Miller American needs the 400 points badly. There you see Todd Yarling again in Pietro's Pizza in a good battle with, I believe, it's the Oboy Alberto on the outside. Yes, it is. As Yarling looks to the inside, he's got Oboy Alberto on the outside, and the Miller American is in first place. This would mean that the Miller would have 400 points if he can hold on to first place, tied with the Budweiser with 400 points. It may come down to average speed to see who makes the final. The Miller team can only wait and hope that their boat will stay in first place. Right now, Chip Hanauer is giving Jim Kropfeld a bit of a push as he comes out in lane number 2. Hey, this is interesting. Jim Kropfeld evidently not getting the word. He has still got his right foot all the way to the firewall. And in the meantime, you've got Chip Hanauer trying to catch him. Second place is George Woods in the Oboy Alberto out of Seattle. Here comes the Miller American on the outside. Hey, this is fun. You got the Miller coming up on the Budweiser in lane number 2 down the back chute. Hanauer trying to air it out just a bit as he goes up against the Budweiser, even though he has first place. There is the Pietro's Pizza on the inside. The Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld still airing out the Budweiser, even though he is ineligible, as we have said. There's your leader, Miller American on the outside. Hanauer going against Jim Kropfeld. Their speeds have got to be up there. In second place, again, Woods out of Seattle, the 5 and 6 liter former world record holder and a K-boat driving champion in second place. First place to the Miller American. Second place again, the Oboy Alberto. Look who's moving up. That's Todd Yarling. And on the inside, here comes Milner Irvin in the Frank Kenny Toyota. Second place, Oboy Alberto with 2 boats right behind him. Miller American, a lot of air under the Miller that time as he goes into that rough first turn, and he has come up deck to deck now with the Budweiser. Again, another good race for second and third. Todd Yarling on the inside with Oboy Alberto holding on to second with George Woods. Couple of dandy battles for first and second, even though the Bud is ineligible, and for third and fourth. There goes the Miller and the Budweiser as they pass Mitch Evans and the Pepsi's Choice. Look at this. What a gorgeous, gorgeous sight coming into the second turn. Hanauer on the outside and Kropfeld on the inside. 2 of the best in the business, period. Even though the Bud is ineligible, it's still an incredible sight. The Miller laying back just a bit. I'm sure Chip Hanauer knows that he has 400 points if he stays right where he is. And 300 for the Oboy Alberto if he can hold on to second place. Look at this battle again with Todd Yarling, George Woods, and on the inside Milner Irvin. And look at the Miller American. My goodness, I can't believe how light he's getting going into the first turn. That is where all the boats have had problems today, going into the first turn out of the main straightaway. Current, wind, I don't know, but they have all had problems, especially the Mr. Pringles with Scott Pierce. Todd Yarling doing battle with the Oboy Alberto. And again, your leader, the Miller American, badly needing 400 points and a good fast lap average in this heat to possibly get into the final heat. It's going to be tough to tell who will be in the field until we complete Heat 2B, which is coming up right after this, being Heat 2A. But here's your winner of the Heat, 400 points to the Miller American. So now we'll see who gets into the final. Oh boy, Alberto, 300 points. He should make it. George Woods. And third place, Miller Irvin and the Frank Kinney Toyota Volvo Mazda. Miller crew, oh, they got to be happy as they know now they've got a fighting chance to get into the final and do battle again with the Budweiser and Company. So the Miller American 400 points, likewise for the day. And a good effort by Alberto, the Kenny Toyota, Pietro's Pizza. Nice having that boat camera, by the way. And the rest of the field. Down to the pits. Here we go. Chip, were you aware what happened out there?
You know, I thought he was dead at the 1 minute gun. I kept my eye on him, and then, you know, he kept going. And, you know, I would have hoped. I was obviously pushing real hard to catch him, and if he knew he wasn't right at the 1 minute gun, I wish he hadn't have done that, because I think we put each other in a lot of jeopardy. So,
Well, congratulations.
Thanks. This is fun, boy. I'm tired.
Good show.
Thanks.
Let's check on the second place finisher for this heat. Now, third the first time out rookie George Woods, and now second place. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim. What can I say? The boat just worked perfect.
You had a real battle going out there, though, with the piston-powered boats.
Sure did. I kind of started a little bit late there and getting the motor cleaned out. We were kind of coming from behind, and I says, well, this is where we got to do it. So we just leaned on it. She ran perfect. We just pulled right by him, had a nice ride, no problems whatsoever, and it felt good.
Okay, now let's find out what really went on in the Budweiser Cup. Don?
Well, Jim, right now there's another conference being held between Don Jones, who is the commissioner of the URC, and Bernie Little, but I think the business has basically been settled that Jim indeed was not maintaining a plane at the 1 minute gun in the Budweiser, and no argument from Bernie Little at this stage anyway. So I think that's, let's close the chapter to that situation. In the meantime, average lap speed for the Miller, 136, which is a new course record. In that heat, we'll be back after this. Don Poyer along with Jim Henrik on the shores of the Columbia River. Heat 2B of the Budweiser Columbia Cup coming up. This is Scott Pierce heading out in the Mr. Pringles, who's had a good day point-wise. He'll do battle against this gentleman, the veteran, Ron Snyder, and the Holson Miss Madison with that new purified breathing system that has helped him considerably earlier today anyway, sitting behind that turbocharged Allison engine, all the exhaust and everything else. So the rundown for 2B, the Pringles, the Holson Miss Madison, the Miss Rock KISW, the Jackpot, and the Tempest. As the boats come around the turn, looks like we've got 4 boats running. We'll check it out as they come down for the start of Heat 2B. But just as predicted, you've got the Pringles and the Holson Miss Madison out in front of everybody else as they come up for the start. Here comes Ron Snyder. All the boats are safe as Snyder alone at the start. Somewhere back on the inside is the Mr. Pringles with Scotty Pierce. Great start by Snyder as he puts the foot all the way down to the floor into the first turn. Here comes the Pringles on the right side of your screen on the inside of Snyder as they go down the back chute. Some of the crew members of the Holson Miss Madison. Snyder has been driving like a man possessed today, getting every inch of horsepower that you can imagine out of that engine and performance out of that boat with 22 victories on it already. Here comes Scotty Pierce on the inside as they come around to complete lap number 1. Again, a good turning boat with that lighter engine in the Marine Turbine. And there's third place. That's going to Jack Berry in the Miss KISW, the Miss Rock, a local radio station in Seattle. Again, the Pringles, though, now has taken over the lead. And here comes Snyder, though, up on the outside. A great battle between a Seattle native on the inside, Scott Pierce, and from Ohio, that being Ron Snyder on the outside. Speed on the first lap, 123 for the Pringles, 121 for the Holson Miss Madison. That was Jerry Hopp in the Jackpot Food Mart. Second place to Ron Snyder as they go down the back chute. Estimated crowd of better than 40,000 here on the Columbia River in 1987 as Scott Pierce goes on trying to gain more points coming into this heat. Scotty ran roughly 25 laps of practice this week, and he hit over 130 miles per hour on each of them. So they are really starting to become a consistent race team. The Mr. Pringles, the winner in Detroit a couple of weeks ago before the circuit headed out west. Ron Snyder got a wave to the crowd. Never too busy to wave. But here's Pierce in that Marine Turbine Lycoming engine. Snyder holding holding on, trying to get 300 points. Danny High, what's the game plan? Just plain finish, get the points for the final?
Get into the final. That's where we want to race. That's what we're trying to do here.
A couple of important matters. If Scott Pierce gets first place, gets any points at all in this heat, he's in the final. If he finishes first and Ron Snyder in the Holson Miss Madison, that boat finishes second, that will put both the Budweiser and the Miller American into the final heat. Through point totals, if these two finish 1-2 in this heat, the Bud and the Miller will go head-to-head again in the final heat. So, everything on the Budweiser camp anyway, everybody is at the mercy of that fella right there. Out of New Bremen, Ohio, Ron Snyder. Scott Pierce in first. He has a shot at getting the most points of anybody in the day after a solid performance in his earlier heat and likewise here in Heat 2B. Jack Berry in his debut, getting his first ride in the Unlimiteds and has done very well today, performing admirably, beating the boats he should beat and performing well. Let's get a word from Bernie Little. Bernie, as we understand it now, if the 1 and 2 place boats stay the same, you're in the final.
Yeah, I sure am, but I don't know whether I can handle it.
Goosebumps, look at this. Goosebumps. Holy
Well, they have the fastest Miss Budweiser in the world sitting on a trailer, not where I want to see it.
Well, you can rest at ease, Bernie. The Budweiser will indeed be in the final. Already set a number of records. Of course, set a world record at 155 in qualifying, and that boat has more, believe me, a lot more. Scott Pierce coming down the main straightaway is the winner here of Heat 2B as he'll pick up 400 points, and second place to Ron Snyder. Point totals for the day. A good day for the Pringles. Holson Miss Madison, the Miss Rock, and Miss Jackpot. Tempest withdrew prior to the heat. Down to the pits.
Ronnie, you had to make, you just saved an Ohio partner of yours, Bernie Little and his crew, because if you didn't finish second, he was knocked out of the final.
That's right. I figured that.
Did you know it?
I wanted to win.
You wanted who to win?
I wanted me to win.
Well, maybe you will.
I will.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear the last time Bernie won. You know that, don't you?
By golly, that's right. Last year that the Budweiser won, you were the driver.
You got it.
All right, let's go down to the Pringles cap right now. Don?
Well, Scotter, business as usual. In order to make the final, you needed the points, any kind of points, and you did that. So now it's time to start thinking about the final. Do you want to change the boat in any way?
Yeah, we need to loosen it up just a little bit and try to get a little more speed out of it. I think our boat's turning better than the other two turbines in the corner. It feels real good. We put a new skid fin on. It seems to be working well, but I'm still shy a little shoot speed, to tell you the truth, and we're going to see if we can't find it in there somewhere.
Well, I'll tell you, the Pringles was plenty loose on Saturday during qualifying. Look how light it got going into that, again, difficult first turn. We'll return right after this. Here are some of the members of the Aboy Alberto crew in charge of wet rags, a vital cog in the wheel of success in boat racing. Time for our Mercury update.
The Idaho Department of Tourism and the Burley Area Chamber of Commerce were hosts this week to the second round of the National Inboard Championship Powerboat Racing Series, sponsored by Mercury Marine and Ford Power Products. The two-day event drew record-setting crowds as fans gathered to watch the 3 NICS classes and 5 guest classes test their skills on the mile and 2/3 course. At stake were the Governor's Trophy and $30,000 in prize money. As an added incentive, race sponsor Lee Moyle donated a mink coat to the driver who came closest to the current speed record in his class. The unique oval course with an island in the middle presented some unusual problems for the racers. A cement wall on the spectator side of the course caused backwash and choppy water on the front stretch, while behind the island on the back stretch, the water remained smooth. The high altitude also caused concern among the drivers as they made adjustments in their engine setup, trying to find the right combination for 4,000 feet. The K-Racing runabout classes boasted the largest field of K drivers ever assembled. 21 boats participated in 4 elimination heats on Saturday to determine the 8 fastest boats for the main event. George Nordling from Milwaukee, Oregon in the K200 Hyperkinetic won the first KRR heat with a top time of 2 minutes 34.15 seconds. The second heat became a 3-way battle with Ron Mad Dog Bolden of Long Beach, California driving the Kelron Racing Special and George Woods in the K39 Outlaw. Bolden took the heat, giving him second place overall, while Nordling's third place finish gave him the points to win the title. Nordling was a relieved victor.
George, things ran real well for you. There was no problem right from the start. You had to lead all the way through. I think like yesterday, it just was perfect. Everything was perfect, yeah. The boat ran well, handled well, and again, we got the good water again today, so once you get out front, it's always smoother in the front.
In Formula Mercruiser 7-liter racing action, Ken Muscatel of Seattle, Washington, and the Muscatel Marine-sponsored boat took both heats to win the class, with Dave Vilwalk in the Sunset Chevrolet Special taking second. It was the first look for Burley fans at this powerful hydroplane class. The crowd was on its feet as the boats threw up a wall of spray on the turns.
In that first lap, you came around and had an extremely strong showing in the second corner over here.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to what you did in the first lap, because all of a sudden you caught up to Terry and moved beyond him.
Well, the boat runs real good in the corners, in the tight corners. It's a good boat in real tight course like this, and it just suited the boat real well.
Ken Dryden, an E58 Terminator boat, dominated the Formula Mercruiser 5-liter class, taking a second and a third in his two heats. Dryden described the race.
It was a tight start. There was a lot of boats going in together into that first turn. What was your concern at that point?
It's a real tight squeeze and try not to run over anybody, but be the first to the corner and be the first one through. You usually have the race buttoned up from there.
The final standing showed Jerry Dellinger, an E98 Agitator, in second, with Locomotion Boat of Gene Bird in third. For Mercury Marine in the great state of Idaho, this is Steve Michael reporting.
Thanks, Steve, and let's be tourists for a moment. 40 miles from Tri-Cities is Patterson, Washington, and Columbia Crest Wineries. That is our national sponsor for our circuit in 1987. It is virtually an oasis in the middle of the desert. A gorgeous one at that. This French chateau-like atmosphere is wonderful. It has a vineyard, it has a retail store, of course the winery itself, wonderful places for a picnic, and a tour of the winery. And the product, it is gaining worldwide recognition for its quality. And it's a beautiful way to spend an afternoon here in southeastern Washington. As for the weather here in the southeastern part of the state, well, it's ideal for growing the grapes, as you can see. And our hats off to the national series sponsor for the Unlimited Hydroplanes, Columbia Crest Wineries. Thanks, everybody. And the sun continues to shine on better than 40,000 here on the Columbia River. We'll be right back with the final heat. Don Poyer with Jim Hendrick. Tri-Cities, Washington, the final is coming up for the Budweiser Columbia Cup. And Miller driver Chip Hanauer hoping to defend his title. Scotty Pierce, a winner 2 weeks ago in Detroit, hoping to make it 2 straight. Adjusts the helmet, puts on the radio. Out of Coral Gables, Florida, Milner Irvin. He'll be driving the Frank Kenny Toyota. George Woods out of Seattle, his first ever Unlimited Hydroplane final heat. The owner of the boat and crew chief, Jim Harvey, assisting. And the man everybody wants to beat, Jim Kropfeld and the Budweiser. He would not be in the final if it were not for this man, Ron Snyder, finishing second in Heat 2B. Here is the field, the Pringles, the Madison, the Alberto, Kenny Toyota, Miller American, the Bud, and the alternate is Pietro's Pizza, that being Todd Yarling out of Madison, Indiana. All boats are running. We have 6 boats. This is Todd Yarling. He is in the final. We believe we have just gotten word the Madison has gone back to the pits with an oil leak, and here comes the start for the final. You heard the gun. The Budweiser in about lane number 3, heading for the first turn on these long straightaways. Look how smooth the course is as the Budweiser and Jim Kropfeld chases for his 4th victory. That's what he wants. His 4th victory in 1987 and his first ever here in Tri-Cities. He's never won. The Miller on the inside. Chip getting way up. Oh, on the inside. Look at that. He got a little bit of the wake of the Budweiser. His right spot's in going way up. He is holding on to second place, however, as he goes down the back straightaway. Yes, the Madison going back into the pits with some sort of problem. Looks like an oil leak. Oil all over the sleeves of Ron Snyder. And here is the Budweiser. Oh, getting a little out of shape into that turn. Kropfeld holding on and getting it back in good shape down the main straightaway. Budweiser, first place. Miller American, second place. The race for 3rd and 4th, the Pringles coming up on the inside against the Oboy Alberto. We got to get a time on the Budweiser here on lap number 1. He is screaming down the main straightaway. Speed for the Budweiser, 146.4 miles per hour, blowing away the course record for a competition lap. third place, the Pringles. But first place, this man, after 25 years of racing, he is driving in what some consider to be the perfect hydroplane, the Miss Budweiser. Brand new this year, the Miller American. Chip Hanauer holding on to second place is the Budweiser crew. Jim Ramsey in front, one of the crew members of the Budweiser. Again, the Miller American in second place, the Budweiser in first, the Pringles in third place, Scott Pierce, the winner in Detroit on that bumpy Detroit River 2 weeks ago. The Budweiser and the Budweiser team not winning here in 9 years. The last time they did it, Ron Snyder was the driver for Bernie Little, and now, thanks to Ron Snyder, the Budweiser made it into the final heat by virtue of points in the preliminary heats. The Budweiser, the Miller American in second place, the Pringles and Scott Pierce in third place coming down, and Todd Yarling in the Pietro's Pizza currently in sixth place. Look how rocky it is as you join Todd now going around that first turn by the bridge. As you can see, the whole world is going by in a real hurry at that speed. The Budweiser going down the back chute. Here's the Oboy Alberto. George Woods and a Merlin engine inside there. That used to be the staple engine. This is the Griffin engine, turbocharged. 3 of them are connected to that Griffin engine. The Budweiser coming up, trying to lap Todd Yarling as he comes around the outside. Look at this boat. The profile, everything about it says speed. The Miller American, they're trying to tame this boat down. They worked on the sponsons prior to Detroit. They have a new air scoop here in the final in Tri-Cities, and this time it's going to belong to the Budweiser. 9 dry years, and the Budweiser picks up a victory here in Tri-Cities, the Budweiser Columbia Cup. Bernie Little getting victory number 60 in his career, and the Miller American coming in second place. Third goes to the Mr. Pringles and Scotty Pierce, but they win overall points. The most points of any boat today in Tri-Cities. Fourth place to the Oboy Alberto. And fifth place to the Kenny Toyota and Milner Irvin. So the numbers, the Budweiser getting a victory here in Tri-Cities. Boy, it's been a long time. The Miller American, defending winner here from last year, gets second. The Pringles, Oboy Alberto, the Kenny Toyota, Pietro's Pizza, coming in after being an alternate, picks up sixth place. Down to the winner's circle. Jim, big swig. Congratulations. I know you were worried about this one. After 9 years, Bernie got a win here.
Well, my first win and Bernie's first one in 9 years was like it was a jinx here or something, but I think we conquered it with the crew we got here. These guys gave me a piece of equipment that you couldn't believe. It's fantastic.
Well, you had a 146-mile-an-hour first lap in competition.
Well, it had to be fast. You know, Chip's capable of doing the same thing, and Scott Pierce, he's very quick, and Alberto too. You know, they were all right there. And
I think you can sleep tonight now.
No, I'm not going to sleep.
Let's go, Jim.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll be right back after this. Time to wrap things up here in Tri-Cities, and we didn't have a chance to talk with Bernie Little right after the victory, and we want to mention, of course, that it's been 9 years since you've gotten a victory here, Bernie. It's got to mean a lot to you.
Oh, it really is, and I must tell you, Don, that one of the greatest things that this was one for Dean Chenoweth all the way. Believe me, Dean sitting up there applauded us on all the way. I got to tell you that.
You never lose your hunger for a victory, do you? Especially
never,
this one.
Never. I was, what can I tell you?
I understand that you picked up a little bit of the Columbia River and had a little message.
Yes, I did. I picked it up, kissed it, put it back down, said a little prayer, and between it all put together, we finally broke our jinx.
Okay. Jim, final comment?
Only the comment I have to make, now that I'm losing my voice and yelling all this races, is that the fact that it's a safe race, and I think that's important too.
Well, wait,
fastest course in the world too, and it was a safe race.
This for me.
I think you've earned it. I think so. 9-year wait, I think he deserves it. Well, from here on out, we go about 300 miles to the west to Seattle, another place where there's been a lot of great racing tradition, and we will be there in 1 week. So, for Jim Hendrick, Bernie Little, I'm Don Poyer. We'll see you in 1 week. If you'd like an unlimited hydroplane press guide, send $6 to the Unlimited Racing Commission, 414 Pontius Avenue North, Seattle 98109. Air transportation provided by Continental, the official airline of Unlimited Racing for the 1987 season. Our race camera was provided by Risley's of Evansville, Indiana. Columbia Crest Winery brings you the 1987 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Sponsored by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? by Household Finance Corporation, America's #1 financial services company, and by U-Haul International. Rent it all at U-Haul Centers.